Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Opinion Machine, the show where we talk about all things gaming. My name is Killjoy, and I'm back talking about Warcraft 3 Reforged again, but we're going to look at the response that Blizzard has given. It's a shame that we're still having to talk about this. I, want to do some other videos about other things because I don't really like talking about controversy, but I think it's really important to just sort of discuss these issues. Also, if you hear purring in the background, my cat has decided to join me for this one, so I do apologise for that. But let's just get into it. So they responded, and first off, I got to feel sorry for this guy, Vax or whatever his name is, because this guy probably has had to put up with all of the hate and all of the anger, and obviously it's not his fault. He's just responding because he's the community manager. And this whole paragraph and stuff does feel very corporate, shall we say, just because it does address some things, but I feel like it just doesn't really go far enough. It's kind of like an apology, but like a non-apology, and yeah, let's just get into it. So they say that they've been following the discussions the past couple of days and want to thank for your feedback as well as your support. I mean, it's probably a lot of hate more than feedback, but I'm sure some people have had some good points to make. We want to say that we're sorry for those of you that didn't have the experience you wanted. Now, that is probably the crappiest thing in there, in the entire lines, because they're saying we're sorry that you didn't have the experience you wanted. And it's like, well, most people would just, with a remaster, were expecting these things that you had announced and promised, and that's not what they got. So, and you didn't communicate that very well. I mean, they do say that they addressed some stuff in BlizzCon last year, but obviously it wasn't a very big thing. Or like, some people obviously didn't do a good job putting that on their website for the game, or really making sure that people knew that, but we'll get to that later. But yeah, saying that you didn't have the experience you wanted, I mean, like, what did you expect? People wanted to play a remastered version of a classic game that is held near and dear to their hearts. And instead it was, it launched with a lot of issues. But then to say that it's, we as the players didn't have the experience we wanted, I mean, that's a bit cheeky. So I'm disappointed that they've started that. That's probably going to have frustrated a lot of people just reading the first paragraph. Okay, so they say there was a few hours during launch day expected server load issues that impacted players' ability to jump right in. Now, I always find this strange with Blizzard, because if people remember back when Diablo 3 launched, there was a horrendous couple of days of people trying to get in, and it was all online, and I feel like since then they must have improved on these things. Like, clearly a lot of people did buy the game and did want to play it, but it just feels weird to me that they still have these issues. I mean, maybe you just can't expect the amount of people to jump in on at one point, so... But, it just seems weird that they're still having issues with servers. They resolved those later in the day, though, so that was fine. Community feedback about different aspects of Reforged that we want to take the time to address. Okay. So this is just to say, this next paragraph is just to say, hey, look, we're committed to the game. The team is excited that Warcraft 3 Reforged is finally upon us, and we're fully committed to supporting the game for as long time to come, which is fine. Like, it's okay that you want to support the game for a long time, but is it okay to release it in a state that has audio bugs, visual bugs, the UI, I don't know all the things, but like the UI, apparently it looks worse than since what they originally were showing off. Obviously we know about the cutscenes. There's some missing features. It feels like what's happened with this game is big things were promised, time constraints happened, and so they scaled back on it, and now they're like, okay, the game's out, we need the money for people to buy the game, pre-order it, whatever, and now we can continue to put these things back in, or like, improve on things now that the game's out. And this is something companies need to be better at, is explaining and discussing. Like, they could have delayed it, they clearly didn't want to delay it much longer. They should have, this has shown how bad their communication skills are, because they should have communicated a lot more of these things and said, hey look, we're doing this remaster, we're aiming to get it out at this point, but it's going to be, these things are going to be missing, but they're still coming throughout this year or next year or whatever. Like, there should have been almost like a timetable for it, and then that way people can go, oh, okay, I'll buy it now because I only want it for like this thing. Or people would go, no, that's okay, I'll wait until this feature's added in, then I'll buy it. And you're a lot more transparent with your player base and the people, because at the end of the day, a company wants to make money, but this sort of like idea of just launch it and we'll fix it later, you just upset your player base, and it's really bad practice. You think the amount of refunds that people have getting, people are now being able to get refunds automatically because of how much of a shit show this whole thing has been. So yes, this whole fix it later or keep supporting the game later is just crazy. Like, just have the game as a remaster, have everything that was in the original game. Maybe you take out the online components that people aren't using, but even then, like, you're still taking things away. Add in the things you promised, like, quality of life and improved, whether it's cutscenes or improved visuals, and you've got your game that people want to play. The next few patches and updates will be discussed below are just part of the ongoing plans. So we're already setting ourselves up for patches and updates for excuse me, for like however long that, throughout this year probably, or whatever. No time frame. This game is an integral part of Blizzard's DNA, with a team that loves Warcraft 3, and we're looking forward to pouring our hearts into Reforged and the Warcraft 3 community for a long term. So here's the problem. We've got probably people working on this game that absolutely love the idea of doing all these things. But you've then got the corporate side of it, and the time constraints and the money. And obviously, RTS isn't exactly a money maker anymore. It's a genre that thrives on PC, but it's definitely nowhere near as popular as it once was. I mean, they've got StarCraft 2, which is arguably the only decent RTS game that's still like got a big player base and God knows what else. But yeah, it just seems crazy that these people are saying that they want to work on it and love the game, but it's like, you should have fought harder not to release it in this state that it came out in. One of the concerns with Reforged that we've seen are the visuals when selecting Classic mode. We've identified the bug causing the colours and shading to look different from the original Warcraft 3, and we're testing a fix that will be incorporated in a larger patch addressing the issue and others. We expect this to release later week. So what? I mean, I don't understand how you mess up the old game, but sure, you've added a thing in and some kind of bug has messed up the colour and shading. Cool, fine. The patch will also address many other known issues, such as fixing some portrait animations and audio bugs, implementing some UI fixes, and more. This is what about like QA testing, and like, what about audio bugs? Really? I mean, you're building a game from a foundation. It's a game that's like 17, 18 years old. Like, if the game already had bugs, you could have fixed those. But if you're adding new bugs in, and you've got weird things going on with portrait animations and UI stuff, and like, come on, like, you didn't need to release it in that state. And this is my biggest problem with remasters. When people re-release these things, it's just like, dude, like, get the small things right, because it all adds up to be a worse package otherwise. It's crazy. I'm going to keep an eye out for the patch notes for a detailed list of all the bug fixes. So I will probably look over this, because I think it'll be interesting to see what they've addressed when that comes out. Another area of concern we're seeing regarding online features such as leaderboards and clans, which applies to all Warcraft free players, including those who haven't purchased Reforged. And it's sad that people that are playing the classic game have to be, all the servers and everything is like pushed into this new Reforged client. So even if you're still playing Warcraft 3 and you didn't buy Reforged, you're going to have to put up with a lot of the crap that's been going on. At BlizzCon, we talked about a lot of how the team is actively working on standing up the back end to ensure a smooth transition into this new MMR system. I like the fact that they're doing a new MMR system, but do you think you should have had that working before you released the game, maybe? Much like we did with StarCraft Remastered. Well, you know what I think about StarCraft Remastered. I think that was a piece of lazy crap. At least with this game, it's not as bad to play. StarCraft, the original, is an okay game to play, but it has a lot of issues. And remastering it, they could have addressed some of the smaller things, and they didn't. All they did was add some graphics and resolution sizes, and letting you can zoom out. But it wasn't designed for casual people, it was designed for the pros anyway. As with Remastered, these and other features will be included in a major patch for Reforged, which will also address the issue for players of the original game. We'll share release plans as work progresses in the coming weeks. Please be assured by the team is hard working standing these features up. All I can say is that you just shouldn't have, if you're going to mess with the online and knew that people are going to play with the online, just have that in launch working. If nothing else, just have the online working. I don't know, it baffles me, man. It just baffles me beyond, I don't know, crazy. There are some individual concerns we've seen that are not currently we're not currently planning to address, and we want to give the community a heads up. Version 1.30 of the original game, we saw very low uses of tournaments and of the Reign of Chaos rule set, so we removed both in mid-2019 in version 1.31. Eliminating the maintenance for underused elements has helped us streamline our overall support of the game and focus on areas impacting the most players. That said, we do anticipate that players who prefer Reign of Chaos will find custom games with similar rule sets, which we hope would be satisfied by concern. I'm surprised it's like, if tournaments weren't getting used, okay, fair enough, but maybe, you know, that might be something you get renewed interest. And as for the Reign of Chaos rule set, like, I get that most people always play with the newest expansion on most games, and you see that a lot with StarCraft 2. But like, was it that hard to not just keep the? Because all it is a rule set. Surely it's not going to be too difficult. I mean, I don't know like what it's like online, but I imagine if you set up a custom game or like a, you know, a private match between me and a friend wanted to play, and we didn't go on. We went online. We just played against friends. Is it that hard to have the rule set there? I don't know. I don't know much about this part of it. Like, I feel like it shouldn't be that much maintenance to keep them there, but who knows. But then also saying, you know, find custom games with similar rule sets. It's like, well, that means you just can't be bothered to do the work and you want someone else to do it. It's just like, ugh. Kind of sucks, really. Related to that, as we talked at last year at BlizzCon, so this is 2019, BlizzCon in November, we did not want the in-game cutscenes to steer too far from the original game. We went a little deeper into the thought process behind that at the show, but the main takeaway is that the campaign tells one of the classic stories in Warcraft history, and we want to preserve the true spirit of Warcraft 3 and allow players to relive these unforgettable moments as they were, with new animations and higher fidelity art. Now here's what the problem is. This bit here, it's like, that's all fine and dandy, but if you go onto their website, I believe the trailer for the original cutscenes that they showed off at 2018 is still on the website. They might not be now, but let's have a look. See if we can find it. Cinematic trailer. Is it still here? Yes, here it is. This does not exist in Warcraft 3 Reforged. So why are you still advertising it? 40 hours of epic gameplay and 4 hours of Reforged cutscenes. Whoops, somebody's messed up. I'm sure this is going to get taken down at some point. I think the biggest problem they've had with this entire, and why people are disappointed and upset, is you promised one thing and then you apparently addressed it at BlizzCon, but you didn't bother to like put out a forum post on it. You clearly didn't bother to put out much information on the website. You've still got the wrong video up on your website. So yeah, I think you know what your problem is. You didn't bother to communicate and just were like, yeah, no one will know, blah blah blah, whatever. And it just goes to show that, like, it's just, I don't know, it's either they don't care or they just don't, like, it's just like, it feels like a quick money grab now. That's the problem with this. And they've massively tainted any, like, respect and, you know, just how people are going to look towards this company now. You know, it's just disappointing. So yeah, I feel like they should have been far more open about the cutscene thing. Like, I know it's only cutscenes, I get it, it's not the end of the world. I'm sure the online infrastructure and the other things that were taken away, you know, are more of a problem. But like, people like watching gameplay with like grandiose cutscenes and cinematics and all that kind of stuff. And if you're going to promise something, at least just come out and be honest about it and say, hey, this isn't something that made it into the final cut of the game. We tried our best, but we didn't do it. But you didn't even do that. It's just like, oh, apparently you did, but no one, like, just not enough getting that point across. It's just crazy. And then they finish off saying, we know this update doesn't address all questions, but we're committed to the development and support of this game. We hope you'll keep an eye out for this week's patch and future updates, and let us know what you think as we continue to fine-tune things. Until then, thank you for your support and passion for Warcraft 3. We appreciate your feedback and continue the Warcraft 3 community updated on everything we're working on. Yeah, it's very much a non-apology. They've addressed a few things. They've not really given any time dates. They're not giving a lot of information. Like I said, this guy that wrote it Kaifax, I believe that's how you pronounce it, I'm not sure. He's probably not the one, you know, don't go and hate on this guy. He's just there to communicate, literally. But there's a lot wrong with what's been going on, and it's just disappointing. I mean, look how many replies there have been. I don't even know what people have said in here. I see someone in here saying about, like, Control F. Like this guy was saying about, like, you're not really apologizing. Some of the stuff should have been in there. Like, yeah, I'm not, like, for me personally, like, I was going to, or would like to buy this at some point because I like Warcraft 3. But at the moment, I think I'm going to wait I can wait 6 months. I can wait a year. Because I don't really want to support them at a time when they're putting out products that maybe clearly aren't up to the standard that we're used to seeing with Blizzard. Warcraft is, like I said before, is one of their biggest franchises, or is their biggest franchise, and it's, you know, they're very good at telling stories within the world, and people love a lot of the characters. If you're gonna do a remaster, right? If they'd come out and said we're gonna remaster it for modern systems, we're going to just update the visuals and nothing else, like, and maybe add some little bits and bobs here, but nothing too crazy. And didn't say they were going to redo the cutscenes, and had, like, the online infrastructure working. Be fine, people would be happy with that. But because you said you wanted to, like, go above and beyond and do all these other things, and then you haven't delivered that on the product at launch, it's kind of like, well, maybe you should have made a point of saying, hey, this stuff isn't going to be in at launch, or be honest, you know, delay the game, or be honest and just say, look, when these things that we promised, unfortunately, aren't going to be in the game because of time constraints. You know, just be open. Like, I'll give you an example of when a company, you know, did something right. Nintendo, when Metroid Prime 4 was in development, came out and did a video on it and saying, hey, Metroid Prime 4 isn't going very well. We're not happy with the state of it. They clearly messed up, and they're like, hey, we're going to hand the development to Retro, and we apologise that it's going to be longer now since you get to play it, but we don't want to deliver on a terrible product. Yeah, it sucks to have to admit that you've messed up on a product, and Nintendo have made many mistakes. I'm not saying they're perfect or anything, but they did something really cool there where they let the community know, hey, look, we're starting again, it's going to take longer, we've handed development to this company. And you know what, they actually had fairly reasonable feedback where people were like, okay, that's cool, we're glad you admitted to this mistake, thanks for, like, putting your hand up and saying, like, what they're seeing. And people are okay with that. If Blizzard had come out and said, look, you know, a few months ago, we're not going to be able to deliver on some of these things, the game's still coming out, but we still want to support it and want into the future, people will be way less frustrated. So yeah, I don't know, the whole situation's crazy. It's just crazy to me, but yeah, well, I will follow the patches. I'm kind of interested in following this at the moment to see where it goes, but I would like to get back to doing other content, and rather than complaining about stuff, I want to be praising people and game developers, not having to read through this and say, hey, look, you've still messed up. So, right, well, thank you very much for watching as always. If you like this video, hit like. If you want to see more content like this, hit subscribe. The Facebook and Twitter links are down there if you want to get involved over there. And yes, there is other content coming. It's not just me complaining about games and discussing this thing. There are other things coming down the pipeline, so look forward to that. And until then, I'll see you next video.